All right, guys, the watch list for Tuesday, which would be November 17th. I'm showing you the SPY first so you can see if you watched the video last night, I had a ton of stuff on Bounce Watch. I was certainly right to do that because you can see a big old engulfing candle in the SPY. Having said that, though, it wasn't as easy as you'd think. I only found a few trades today. Got my daily goal in the bank plus some, but it wasn't a simple day. It was just like a slow grind higher all day, which really wasn't conducive to a lot of day trades for me. But anyway, got my daily goal in the bank. But yeah, it wasn't as easy as you might think if you watched the video last night. All right, having said all that, STRP. Let's switch to 15-minute candles. Just rallied out of the gate this morning, and this is a good example. I mean, just grinded higher all morning, and then did a kind of a midday lull, and then popped back up near the end of the day. Again, I want to watch this. I know a lot of people look at this chart and say, "What the heck is he looking at?" But here's why: it was $50, less than a month ago, and just got decimated. Small bounce, decimated again, and now it's kind of bleeding lower, but this one is, I call it, coiled might not be the right word, but it's so oversold that it could make a really big move. If it can get over today's high, which was 1072, you could see it maybe breaking this 11 and maybe getting another dollar really quick. So that's why it's on watch. It's just so beaten up that it just makes sense to have it on a chart. Dick's Sporting Goods, DKS, this is really pretty interesting. I'm not sure if they're either reporting, I think tomorrow. I don't know if it's before or maybe they already reported, but I just glanced at it. I'm pretty sure they report tomorrow. I just don't know if it's before the bell or after the bell. But this is another beaten up stock and straight down for 4 days. Biggest volume today of this sell-off. Closed near its highs. So I want to watch that one to continue this bounce on Tuesday. That's DKS. But again, that might change depending on if they have earnings before the open. Then who knows where it's going to look, what it's going to look like at the open. EROS, another stock that's just been decimated. This afternoon they had news. Some fund has a certain percent stake. I don't know the exact numbers. Doesn't really matter to me. This is another example of, go back to the daily, really beaten up, right? This was over 32 back in almost mid-October, right? And so now we're mid-November. So about a month ago, it's over 32, and it's trading down at 749. Let's switch back to 15-minute candles. So when it had news, when the news came out about the fund having a position, a really nice spike here. And again, this is from a little over 7 to almost 850, and then it kind of went sideways the rest of the day. But anytime I see a move like this on a beaten up stock, I am always watching it the next day. All right, if you catch the right setup, get a really nice trade in that one. EMES. Look at the volume back here for 2 days in a row, and it went from, in this 2 day stretch, it went from 449 up to 828. I mean, so that's almost a double, right, in 2 days. And then, excuse me, for about a week, it's really been doing next to nothing, but seems to be finding support. So switching to 15s, it certainly looks interesting over $6. So let's keep our eyes on this one. Again, that's an example of a recent high relative volume stock that found support and might get a nice pop. I always try to focus on stocks that have had very high relative volume. Okay, Men's Warehouse was on Bounce Watch today. I never took a trade in it, but you do have a little hammer candle down here looking for, with any strength in the market, looking for this bounce to continue. This is really beaten up again. Was over 40, about 6-7 sessions ago, and now is at 19 something. So I'm looking for a second day bounce on that one. Green Mountain Coffee, same exact thing. Really beaten up and a nice little hammer candle on decent volume. Looking for a follow through day on that. Hain, Hain, same thing. You can see a theme forming here. Lionsgate, now this one, when it got down near 36, LGF, I started watching for a reversal, and I just never found a clean entry. It chopped around for about 2 hours and then started back up. I was really hoping for this to come down, take out these lows, and touch the 200-day. I would have been in really, really large in this area, especially not just because of the chart, but the next, the final version, whatever you call it, of Hunger Games. Sorry, of Hunger Games coming out Friday. I would, to me, this is a gift. You get a 2 day sell off near the 200-day, but now it's on watch, but I like it less because it already had a decent sized bounce. But with Hunger Games coming out, whatever the actual name of the movie is coming out Friday, the bounce may continue. Okay, that's LGF, and then URBN. Pretty sure they reported after hours. Okay, so you've gotten a really beaten up stock for 3 or 4 days in a row. Closed at 22.67. It went down, I think, below 20 in after hours. Right now, after hour session is about over to 20.29. But this is a setup that I like. When something's really beaten up and then gaps down the next day, which it looks like it probably will because of earnings, a lot of times maybe it gaps down, sells off, and then turns right back up, and you get a red to green. That can mark the bottom for quite a while. Maybe a weird example, but Apple on the day, this was already beaten up on that. Remember that gap down in August? A little bit weird comparing URBN to Apple, I understand. Teen retailer, clothing retailer versus Apple. But this was already on Bounce Watch coming into that day. And then we got the gap down. This sold off and then went red to green. And we were long in the chat room. And then it ripped. So that's sort of a weird example. But what might happen in Urban tomorrow, not with the fervor that Apple did, but that's kind of what I look for. When I have a bounce play on watch is beaten up for several days, I actually love a gap down and then a red to green. It's a powerful entry if it happens. And that may not happen. It might gap down tomorrow and just keep selling. So I only take trades based on, based on the daily chart and then intraday setups. Okay. I try to only take a trade if I have catalysts that should work. I try to take stuff that should work right away. I was coaching one of our members today, and one of his problems is he's over trading. Always feels like he has to be in something, whereas I'll sit for 2 hours if I have to in cash. I'm almost always in cash unless and until I have a setup that should work right away, and then I put some money to work. All right, I'm about ready to lose my voice, so I'm going to wrap it up. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.